Webinar where we'll have one of our favorite speakers. We all have enjoyed listening to him time and again. So he's coming in with a new product offering, new product discussion. And it's always a pleasure connecting with him and listening to him. And topic is also such which is somewhere or other we use this keyword in our conversations, aggressive, defensive, and so on. But this time we have a defense related fund, and this defense is not related to market defense. This defense is related to our country, our overall side of it, and so many the physical defense that we talk about. So yes, we are talking about a new fund offering from HDFC Mutual Fund, HDFC Asset Management, and the name of the new product is HDFC Defense Fund. It's an interesting thought. It's an interesting idea because being a thematic fund, I'm sure there are opportunities in it, especially when it is coming from HDFC. We would like to know a lot more about it, why they have launched this, why they see an opportunity in this sector or segment, and what is the overall space that we feel can be played in, and how much part of the portfolio should be there in defense as a theme as such. So without any further ado, let me invite our guest, our partner, our friend, Mr. Ashok Kanawala, who is a known name. We all love him. We all really like to listen to him time and again. Mr. Kanawala, we all know, is one person who manages multiple roles within HDFC Asset Management. And he's one who's got more than 22 years experience only with asset management, apart from another 8-10 years of experience in our financial services industry. So he manages the business development, he manages the product development side at HDFC Management. So he's the head of all the strategies related to business development as well as the product side plus trainings. So without any further ado, I would invite our friend Mr. Ashok Kanawala to share his thoughts, why HDFC Defense Fund, and of course, why should we invest in it? Seeking his guidance, Ashok bhai, over to you. Good evening once again.
Hey, thanks, Anjanya. Thanks, James, for this opportunity. And good evening, friends. Hope you all are well and doing fine. This is a very interesting and a very simple and easy to understand NFO or a concept. And before I get into deep dive into this NFO, let me give you background, in a very simple terms, why one should consider investing in this fund. Very simple thing. And for a moment, just close your eyes and think about India's political map. And what you find that on the northern side, there is a landmass. We have neighbors, very troubled neighbors, very challenging neighbors, with whom we have been having skirmishes since our independence. लास्ट ईयर ही हम लोग ने अमृत महोत्सव मनाया था, 75 years of our independence, और 75 साल की कहानी में देखिए क्या क्या नहीं हुआ हमारे बॉर्डर पे. और डाउन साउथ है वेरी लार्ज बॉर्डर बॉडी, इंडियन ओशन. वहां भी लोगों का, बड़े बड़े डेवलप्ड नेशंस का भी एक हमेशा एक व्यू पॉइंट रहता है, बिकॉज एवरीबडी वांट्स टू कंट्रोल सी. वहीं से काफी सारा टाइम मर्चेंट नेवीज वगैरह वगैरह जाते रहते हैं. So lot of trade gets carried on on the sea route, and somewhere that also needs to be controlled. तो हमारे को वहां से भी एक खतरा बना रहता है, बिकॉज हमारे सामने बड़ा वाटर बॉडी भी है. और ये कहीं 75 साल की कहानी है, तो सामने लास्ट 30 साल में समवेयर मोर एक्सटर्नल के साथ इंटरनल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट भी चालू है इन टर्म्स ऑफ मिलिटेंसी. And therefore, the militant attacks or terrorist attacks is not new to us. We have seen time and again various parts of the country. तो हमारी कॉन्फ्लिक्ट अभी एक्सटर्नल नहीं है, बट इंटरनल भी है. और इसी के चलते इफ यू सी आवर डिफेंस बजट ओवर द इयर्स, ये कभी भी घटा नहीं है, बड़ा स्टेबल रहा है इन टर्म्स ऑफ परसेंटेज टू द जीडीपी. मतलब हर साल जैसे देश का बजट बढ़ता है, उसके साथ डिफेंस का बजट भी बढ़ते चलता है. मगर इसमें एक बात ये भी है, बिकॉज टेक्नोलॉजी चेंजेस वेरी फास्ट एंड वी हैव टू कीप पेस विद आवर पियर्स, आवर अदर नेबरिंग कंट्रीज. एंड व्हाट वी सी दैट इन लास्ट कपल ऑफ इयर्स आवर इंपोर्ट कंटेंट ऑफ डिफेंस हैज गॉन अप, एंड वी आर लार्जेस्ट इंपोर्टर ऑफ डिफेंस इक्विपमेंट इन द वर्ल्ड ओवर लास्ट कपल ऑफ इयर्स. तो कहीं ये इंपोर्ट सब्स्टिट्यूशन की स्टोरी भी बन रही है. तो ये जो मसला है, जिसे जो ये देखा जब गवर्नमेंट ने कि ये डिफेंस का एक्सपेंडिचर बढ़ रहा है, ऑर्गेनिक ग्रोथ है, प्लस इंपोर्ट की बात आ रही है, तो गवर्नमेंट ने पॉलिसी चेंज करी ताकि ज्यादा से ज्यादा हम इसकी प्रोडक्शन देश के अंदर कर सके, देश में मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इसकी करें, और उसी के साथ हम आत्मनिर्भरता की तरफ बढ़ते चले. ये बहुत सिंपल कहानी है. ये कहानी अगले 1-2 साल की नहीं है, ये कहानी मेरे हिसाब से अगले 1-2 डिकेड की है. और यही समझाऊंगा मैं अपने प्रेजेंटेशन में कि क्यों इसमें अपॉर्चुनिटी, ये कोई साइक्लिकल फंड नहीं है जैसे हमने आईटी में देखा, फार्मा में देखा, या दूसरे या थीम के हिसाब से, साइकिल के हिसाब से चलता है. हमें लगता है ये स्ट्रक्चरल स्टोरी है जो सालों साल चल सकती है. और इसी के लिए जो पेशेंट इन्वेस्टर है, मीडियम टू लॉन्ग टर्म के लिए इन्वेस्ट करने के लिए तैयार है, उसी को ये फंड को देखना चाहिए। तो रही बात जिस फंड की अपॉर्चुनिटीज की, तो जैसे मैंने इंडिया की कहानी आपको बताई, मगर उसके पहले पूरे दुनिया की कहानी भी आप समझ लेते हैं। 1990 तक दुनिया में दो सुपर पावर थे, यूएसए और यूएसएसआर 91 में। और जब ये दो सुपर पावर थे तो हमने मतलब देखा गया दुनिया में कि डिफेंस का एक्सपेंडिचर जनरली हायर साइड पे था। दोनों बड़ी बड़ी कंट्री थी, बड़े बड़े अपने एलिज थे, उनके साथ मिलके देयर डिफेंस एक्सपेंडिचर टू बी ऑन हायर साइड। 91 में यूएसएसआर डिसइंटीग्रेटेड और जो 12 टुकड़े हो गए, यूक्रेन ऑल्सो इज पार्ट ऑफ दैट टुकड़ा। और उसके बाद दुनिया में एक सुपर पावर बच गया, यूएसए। और जब एक सुपर पावर है तो लॉजिकली है कि डिफेंस का एक्सपेंडिचर भी मॉडरेट होने लगा। मगर कई पिछले सालों में, ऑफ कोर्स लास्ट एक साल से जो लॉन्गेस्ट रनिंग वॉर यूएस रशिया यूक्रेन एज वेल एज राइज ऑफ एशियन इकोनॉमीज, जो एशियन इकोनॉमीज की जो छोटे साइज में थे, आज वो भी सब बड़े साइज में है, तो वो भी एक पावर सेंटर बनते जा रहे हैं। वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर इन इकोनॉमिक साइज ऑल्सो इज चेंजिंग, और उसी के चलते डिफेंस एक्सपेंडिचर में भी बढ़ोतरी देखी गई है। सो डिफेंस एक्सपेंडिचर ऑल्सो राइज ग्लोबली, एंड ऑन द राइट साइड दिस आर द फ्लैग्स ऑफ दोस कंट्रीज वेयर एक्चुअली द डिफेंस एक्सपेंडिचर हैव स्टार्टेड राइजिंग। तो जैसे रशिया यूक्रेन वॉर है तो नेटो कंट्रीज में डिफेंस एक्सपेंडिचर बढ़ता है। कहीं चाइना wants to have an eye on Taiwan, चाइना में डिफेंस एक्सपेंडिचर बढ़ रहा है। तो ग्लोबली when unipolar world, जैसे मैं हमने पहले कहा कि सुपर पावर एक यूएसए था, now there are multipolar world where more and more superpowers are becoming coming into force. The defense expenditure in general is on rise globally. Now देखिए, जो मैं एग्जांपल आपके सामने बता रहा था, राइज ऑफ एशियन पावर्स एक्सेट्रा, विच इज क्लियरली विजिबल ऑन योर स्क्रीन। मैंने 3 कंट्रीज की एग्जांपल लिए हैं, यूएसए नंबर 1, चाइना नंबर 2 एंड इंडिया नाउ नंबर 5 इन इकोनॉमिक साइज। एंड 95 से 2022 तक 2021 तक के ये डिफेंस एक्सपेंडिचर की एनालिसिस है। और जैसे मैंने कहा कि लास्ट 100 ईयर्स से यूएसए इज रिमेन्ड अ सुपर पावर। वर्ल्ड वॉर 1 हुआ, वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 हुआ, उसके बाद भी कई सारी बैटल्स हुई, कहीं ना कहीं अमेरिका ने हमेशा अपना इन्वॉल्वमेंट रखा ही है। एंड वेरी लार्ज इकोनॉमी, नंबर 1 इकोनॉमी वर्ल्ड, लॉजिकल है कि उसकी डिफेंस एक्सपेंडिचर भी ज्यादा है। तो 95 में लगभग $300 बिलियन का उनका स्पेंड था, आपके सामने है। अब वो बढ़ के $800 बिलियन हो गया। तो एनी कंट्री विच इज बिग इन इकोनॉमिक साइज also has a very high spending on defense for a variety of reasons. One such is to even participate in the global trade as well as to become a self-sufficient so that they can. So economic might alone does not help you. Economic might has to be supplemented by military might or defense might. And that's what you can see in China. China में 1995 में $12 बिलियन का डिफेंस एक्सपेंडिचर था, आज लगभग $300 बिलियन के आसपास है, which is roughly 25 times. And we all know Chinese growth story. So China was nothing in 95 in terms of economic size, but today it is second largest economy, and the growth of China is before us, in front of us. And look at this spending on defense. And against that, India was spending $10 billion, and today it is roughly spending $80 billion. So the idea here is that India has just grown 8 times, China has grown 25 times, but their economy has grown much faster than India. Now, the challenge or opportunity here is this, that India also eyes to become a developed nation by 2047. Last year in the Independence Day speech, PM said that it is our desire that we should be nothing less than a developed nation. And as India's economic size continues to grow in that direction, it's logical to expect even defense expenditure going up. And why I'm saying that? Across time period, even if you see any economy, when I earlier said that defense expenditure remains stable, not in amount terms, in percentage terms. So if you see, USA has been spending in the range of 3.5% to 4%, and that has been throughout last 25, 26 years. If you say China, it is 1.5 to 2%. And if you see India, is 2.5 to 3%. So whichever country it is, the defense expenditure is to continue to grow in line with its economic growth. And as and when we become more and more powerful in economic size, the more is your sort of investment into defense, just not only to protect border, but be part of the global defense trade also. Now, why India is looking to become self-reliant or Atmanirbhar, as we say? As I said, India was one of the largest importer of defense equipment during the period 2018 to 22, accounting for 11% of global imports. And we know that India is a current account deficit country. Now, once you have a higher imports, logically it has its own impact on current account deficit. And once you have a higher current account deficit, then it has impact on rupee depreciation, and in turn leading to higher inflation. So country having higher current account deficit is not desirable. We anyway have to import oil because we don't manufacture oil, and 80% of our oil requirement is imported. So we already have challenges on the current account deficit side. We can't afford to add one more layer on account of defense, and therefore the need to manufacture in India. Secondly, now we have a very large defense requirement, as I said, because of our political map. And from time to time, we have this border tensions, etc. We have to be always, in the state of readiness, in the sense that we can't say that today some kind of challenges come and we will start looking for upgrades and improvements from other countries in order to meet or match the defense capabilities of our neighbors, and that can be time consuming and can prove very costly for us. So somewhere, if we want to be defense ready, then we have to reduce dependence on other countries for our requirement. At the same time, as I said, that defense is not only about manufacturing. This manufacturing is different from normal manufacturing as we understand. What is the difference? There is an additional blend of technology. So defense is not only pure manufacturing, it is blend of technology plus manufacturing. No company can become a vendor of a defense establishment overnight. They have to invest time, resource, energy, R&D for years to prove their capability. And after the product is approved by defense establishment, they become a vendor to the defense establishment. So therefore, even initial investment to R&D and capacity building needs to be there, and that is a time-driven process. And therefore, if we are looking to meet the defense capabilities of other countries, then we also need to start investing into R&D, and therefore also a step towards self-reliance. And finally, build an ecosystem or a vendor chain management, management of defense equipments, because you are trying to create a value chain within the country. When I'm saying value chain, that you require something, and if some parts are to be imported, etc., and it is all, as I said earlier, it's a time consuming. But in terms of long conflicts, this can become very challenging for us. And therefore, even, you may have an aircraft, but if you have a don't critical supply there, then your aircraft just cannot take off. In that case also, you require that ecosystem, vendors, etc. It's not only about importing aircraft, but after that, maintaining an aircraft, that ecosystem also we need to build, and therefore the step towards self-reliance. So there's a couple of reasons why we need to be self-reliant, and that's what the government has realized and have started taking steps in those directions. Now, India's defense logic, or why the fund was constructed, lies on 4 pillars, and those 4 pillars are before you. First is increasing capex in defense, which is an organic growth, जिसे मैंने आपको पहले भी बताया, कि जैसे इकोनॉमी साइज बढ़ती है, India's expenditure on defense also continues to grow. What we are seeing for last couple of years, our capital outlay has continued to increase at the rate of 9%. So ये organic growth है और ये structural in nature है. तो अगर इंडिया की इकोनॉमी आगे बढ़ती जाएगी, जैसे हम लोग बोलते हैं ना, इंडिया की इकोनॉमी $5 ट्रिलियन हो जाएगी, आज $3 ट्रिलियन है, $5 ट्रिलियन हो जाएगी, $10 ट्रिलियन हो जाएगी, ऑटोमेटिक आपका डिफेंस का एक्सपेंडिचर बढ़ता रहेगा. बट जो कैटलिस्ट ऑफ न्यू ग्रोथ है वो है इंपोर्ट सब्स्टिट्यूशन का. जैसे मैंने पहले बताया कि वी आर वेरी लार्ज इंपोर्टर ऑफ डिफेंस इक्विपमेंट्स. समवेयर व्हाट वी आर सीइंग द ट्रेंड इज ऑलरेडी स्टार्टेड. 18% सीजर से अपना इंडिजनाइजेशन इंप्रूव हो रहा है, मतलब वी आर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इन इंडिया. टुडे नियरली 75% ऑफ आवर डिफेंस रिक्वायरमेंट इज गेटिंग मैन्युफैक्चर्ड इन इंडिया and the trend is of improvement so that we go towards आत्मनिर्भरता. So ये import substitution की एक दूसरी कहानी बन रही है. एक बार अपना import substitution की कहानी पूरी हो जाएगी, then we will look for export growth, because as I said that we are moving towards multipolar world. Unipolar to multipolar. Every country is looking to improve their defense capability, and therefore there is opportunity to improve our market share in the world market also. And that's what, despite our export growing by 8 times in last couple of years, we have not even scratched the surface, and the opportunity is huge, which we will discuss later. And finally, I said, growth of defense ecosystem, keeping ourselves in a readiness mode and creating a value chain within the country so that, you don't have to pay outside people and even transfer profit outside. So idea is that we create a value chain within the country, retain the profit within the country, and at the same time become defense ready in times of the conflict. So these are 4 major pillars which makes us believe that defense story is not cyclical but structural in nature. And now we will discuss in little detail. So as I said, that first driver was organic growth of capex, which we have already seen that it is India's capex has grown at the rate of 9%. But इसके साथ जो सामने आपकी कहानी बन रही है, जो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, ये आप अगर यदि आप देखिए, जो मैंने आपको बताया, 2000 में हमारा डिफेंस एक्सपेंडिचर था $14 बिलियन, 2010 में हुआ 46 और अभी लगभग 80 के आसपास है. और उसी दरमियान ड्यूरिंग दैट टाइम आवर जीडीपी एक्चुअली इंक्रीज फ्रॉम $500 बिलियन to $3 ट्रिलियन. And percentage of GDP spend here is 2.9 to 2.4. So मैंने जैसे बताया, between the range of 2.5 to 3%. यदि हम 2030 में, today we are 5th largest economy, and it is expected in next couple of years will become 3rd largest economy. If we become a $7 trillion economy, and if this kind of percentages are maintained in stable terms, what will be my expenditure on defense? And similarly, in 2047, when I'm expected to be a $25, $26 trillion economy, maintaining the same kind of expenditure, what will be my spending on defense? So this itself shows you that why defense is a structural story and not a cyclical story. And as I said, why somebody will say that, why increase in economic might, economic size should result in increase in defense expenditure. That we already saw in case of China. China used to just spend $12 billion in 95. Today it is spending $300 billion, and their economic size has grown many times. So if we have an aspiration and aim to become a superpower, then superpower only in economic size alone will not matter. You have to supplement with your military might also. And therefore we believe that defense remains a structural story over the years. Secondly, जैसे और मैंने आगे भी बताया कि बहुत एक important चीज है, जिसको 19 अगर last 75 years हुए, and if you see the journey of India in last 75 years, so we had a Kashmir war in 47 with Pakistan, and then India-China conflict 62, and Pakistan again, then again Sri Lanka on south, and again Kargil war, then internal conflicts. And more importantly, which is very socio impact is this, that any country that has a weak defense system, that people do not feel safe. And उसका उदाहरण मैं आपको देता हूं अपने country के हिसाब से. In last couple of years, we had 4 tensions across the border, major ones. And what was our response? Just think about it. We had Uri response, we had a Balakot response, we had a Galwan response, and we had a Doklam response. When our military, our air force, when they responded with a might, what kind of message did it give to the world at large and to our own people? Even when in the matter of oil, when people were saying we should not import oil from Russia, but when we went ahead and bought Russian oil, what kind of response it was? So how is our response in external world when you have a challenge on the border, etc., actually makes people more confident within the country and can give them a sort of peace and prosperity. So having a strong defense system is a must for a country, and especially when it is growing and it has a troubled neighbors. And that situation doesn't seem to be changing in early. क्या आपको लगता है कि कहीं अपनी वेस्टर्न बॉर्डर या नॉर्दर्न बॉर्डर अचानक शांत हो जाएंगी? कुछ ना कुछ हो रहा है, right? And we need to keep investing in defense, and everybody is growing in terms of technology. So we also have to keep pace with that. And that doesn't seem to change. कहीं बीच में हमने सुना था श्रीलंका में कोई पोर्ट टेक ओवर कर रहा है. Now Sri Lanka is just touching our southern border. What should be our response? And similarly for other countries. So I'm saying that we have challenges across our borders. Even on the eastern side, Myanmar border, there is a tension. So I'm saying there is a challenge across, and therefore our defense readiness has to be there, and therefore the spending on the defense. जब भी मैंने import की बात करी, import substitution, we are largest importer, 11% of the global imports. अभी हमारा 75% production internally हो रहा है. Indigenation, we have achieved 75%. Army is self-sufficient, 80% तक हो चुका है. Navy and Air Force is roughly around 60%, so we have a long way to go. Now, what is more important for you to understand that government has approved acquisition worth 2.7 lakh crores in FY23. Approved acquisition, meaning they have approved items. So it's not an order book. They just have approved what can be procured internally. And you can see in FY23, it is the largest. So government focus on manufacturing in India can be visible here because they are approving more and more items that can be procured locally as compared to import. So what used to be earlier, usse kahin zyada. Now, once they approve the items, then they get converted into order book. So then order jisko chahiye, usi tarah se order place hoga, and then it will become an order book, and eventually it will become a revenue. So having a determined government actually augurs well for the industry from a medium to long perspective, because now they've actually showed their commitment to procure things locally. It's not only on paper. On what has changed, and as I said that 1961-62 war was a very sorry state of affairs when we had a battle with China. We did not, in my opinion, see, India as a country has never attacked any country. They only have defended their borders. But somewhere in our defense terms, in our China against China was not very strong. And the reason was that after 47, we never invested in defense. We were still a new country, young country, and we were more banking on the equipment left behind by Britishers. So our response was not strong, and that's where somewhere the foundation for some kind of Atmanirbharta was laid down. But over the years, some development was there, but the major development came in last couple of years when this government, in a determined move, banned 411 items from procuring outside India. So those necessarily have to be procured within India. To this list, another 900 have been added in recent past. So now more than 1,000 items have to be procured legally. Now, because it is a question of technology, they also have allowed private participation, 100% private participation, and also allowed 74% FDI into defense, despite defense being a very critical subject. Why? Because India runs a big fiscal deficit. Government also has a constraint in terms of investing further into defense capabilities. So I think they've allowed privatization so that technology can be freely transferred, as well as more capital can be invested by private parties, and actually augurs well from India's medium to long term in terms of defense capability, plus also having a beneficial impact in terms of manufacturing in India. Because of this such policies, already we are seeing more and more private companies getting listed on stock exchange, because hitherto this space was dominated by PSUs. Now the things have become open for privatization, and private participation also has increased in terms of listing of new company, and more companies coming into existence to support defense requirements. So uh, uh, because of this indigenization program and DRDO, the research outfit of the government of India, actually have been doing work for last 40 years and have produced some big platforms. When I say platforms, in some defense equipments, which would have read in newspaper some point in time. For example, aircraft carrier, then submarines and howitzer guns. All these are now manufactured in India. And you can see that impact of R&D. As you keep on spending more and more R&D, we may become more and more competitive. And therefore, if you see, even R&D expenditure of DRDO has increased nearly 3 times in last over a decade. So I think somewhere even R&D is also a backbone of defense, and we need to spend a lot of money if we want to keep pace with the technology. And as I said, that the third driver has been our exports. So as I said, that one is organic growth, second is import substitution, so that we don't rely on outside world for our defense requirement. But once we meet our defense requirement, we need to enter the world market in terms of our technological superiority and start competing in the world market. And we have done some work there. We have already exported Brahmo missiles, and all these are the platforms which are sort of supplied from India, Akash missile system, etc., etc. Our exports have grown nearly 8 times in last couple of years. But as I said, it is nothing. We still not able to scratch even the surface, because today the world market in defense is controlled by 3 countries: USA, Russia, and France. They together account for nearly 75% of the world market. In India is roughly less than 2% of the world market. So I think we have started beginning exporting to smaller countries like Philippines and Armenia and all this country. But I think opportunity is great. And the key advantage, if you are technologically superior, but key advantage, if you are able to meet on the cost, then I think a lot of markets will open for us, and we will see those things going forward. We will explain that in a detail going forward. And the fourth part, as I was said, that developing ecosystem of defense within the country. As I said, value chain, because आपने एक aircraft तो ले लिया, उसके बाद maintenance part का क्या करोगे? So you have to develop that value chain whereby critical supply also comes within the country. They are timely, and they can be supplied in time. They can be cost efficient. At the same time, profit remains within the country. So we have already done some work there, radar system and all this thing, and we are already seeing that private revenues of private listed defense companies also has been growing up. And why it can be also substantiated that the imports, the PSUs which were critical components which were imported, actually we are seeing a declining trend. So what used to be in 2016, what we are seeing in 2020, they all are structurally showing a declining trend. So that production within the India also has started improving, helping the story of defense or structural growth of defense companies in India. Some of the key studies, as I said, that what we have done till date and where is the opportunity. So this is the first thing, that in US, which is the largest player in defense market in the world, the first top 5 companies account for $350 billion of revenue. As against that, India's entire defense industry revenue is $10 to $12 billion. So if top US company has a turnover of $67 billion, top US Indian company has $3 billion. So that's the kind of opportunity we are talking about. Of course, we cannot reach US very fast, but at least the idea is that if we are technologically superior and at least our product is competitive, we have a chance to make an dent into the export market. And that's what we have done in the Prachand helicopter that we have developed indigenously. And if you see here on all parameters, it competes with Apache of USA. So Apache can go up to 6.1 kilometers, our Prachand can go up to 6.5 kilometers, and so on and so forth for all other parameters. Every parameter we are comparable except the cost front, where we are 50% the cost of Apache. So your idea is that because of our, if we are technologically superior or competitive, but if we are cost efficient, then more and more markets can open for us, and it opens the doors for export. And this is what also government is also saying, that let us diversify resources. It should not be that the Indian defense companies are dependent only on one buyer, which is government. In fact, world can be your market, and that's what we are trying to target through our export policies. And as I said, that we already have developed a lot of missiles, surface to surface, surface to air, short range, medium range, long range, and we have proved our capabilities there. And in Ministry of Defense has already signed contracts worth 9,000 crores to improve our Akash weapon system, so that tomorrow, if sitting here, we can target 5,000 kilometers. That's the kind of missile that we have developed, and therefore, today's time, when the two countries was, you did not fight on the defense border, but we can always fight sitting in some place, and reach our targets very easily. So I think the missiles, the helicopters, and finally this Tejas aircraft, which we have developed indigenously by DRDO, it is manufactured by Hindustan Aeronautics. The story behind this is this, that any aircraft, which has a lifespan of 35 to 40 years. We acquired a lot of aircraft from Russia during period 1985 to 1990. MiGs, Mirage, Sukhoi we acquired in 2000. And those MiG, Mirage, on and off, we keep seeing that they've crashed, and some of our pilots also lose their life, etc. They are due for replacement. And that's where our R&D of so many years by DRDO and HAL together actually has produced this light combat aircraft, Tejas. And Indian Air Force has already placed order for 83 of such aircrafts in 2021, after 40 aircraft ordered earlier in previous configurations. So already Tejas has become an established product, acceptable product to Indian Air Force, and Hindustan Aeronautics already got, and government is actively pursuing export opportunities as far as Tejas is concerned. So because of our technology, because of our cost competition, we are not only now meeting our import requirement, defense requirement, but we are also looking to export such aircrafts going forward. So this is a big opportunity going forward, a big story for defense, and a structural story for defense, as we believe. What we are going to do in this is going to be completely investing in sector fund, investing into defense and defense related companies, bottom-up approach, wherever opportunity is available at a reasonable valuation vis-a-vis the growth, those companies will be picked up. It's going to be market agnostic fund, large, mid, and small, wherever we feel opportunity is there. So we are going to buy. What companies will be a defense company? Defense company, any company which drives a revenue of more than 10% from defense will qualify for this. Somebody may raise an issue. Why 10% is such a low threshold? Let us understand, defense is a very nascent industry. Very recently, private companies have come into play. Some companies are, drawing earlier, some couple of years ago, drawing revenue of only 2-5%, now started crossing 10%, and they are growing faster on defense ecosystem. And we don't want to miss out on such opportunities. If I wait for them to become 40-50%, then I will be losing that opportunity as they continue to grow in a meaningful way. So it's a new industry, nascent industry. We need to catch the companies young and eventually ride the wave for next couple of years. And therefore, the threshold is relatively lower. It will be benchmarked against a dedicated defense index in Nifty India Defense Index Fund. And therefore, even somewhere the benchmark is very clear that VA is going to be pure defense related fund. As to opportunities right now, there are around 21 opportunities, of which largely it is a small cap space. But more importantly, what is important that there are only 8 PSU companies and now 13 private sector companies. As I said earlier also, that with the post policy change of 2021 when privatization was announced, more and more companies have started getting listed and more opportunities are getting available to us. And the universe is expanding. So what we understand, one more company has already filed an offer doc and will be entering the capital market in near future. So this universe will continue to expand as we continue to move in time because of the opportunity offered in this sector. Just to give you a simple analogy to friends here, that during decades of 90, when software was a new sector, budding sector, there were only 22 companies listed on stock exchange during the entire decade of 90s. And today we have 60 companies listed on stock exchange, listed companies of IT today on the stock exchange. So as opportunity continues to unfold, more and more people will continue to enter. As I said, this is a new sector, nascent sector, a young sector, and we believe that more and more opportunities will follow, though the current opportunities are sort of a handful in numbers. As to valuation metrics, the return of last couple of years, 1, 3, 5 have been very good as compared to markets in general. P's are generally higher than the market, but the right way to look these companies is not to look from a PE front, but to look from a earnings, price to earnings growth or price to growth front, because these companies come with a greater visibility. Fundamentals of these companies are better than the general market, and the earning visibility is better, because of which their P multiple also tends to be on a higher side. That's what we have seen. Wherever earning visibilities are better, they tend to quote at a higher multiples. Why I'm saying that? That today, if I look at the defense companies, their total revenue is around 68,000 crores. But more importantly, look at their order book. Their order book is 3 times the turnover. So the order book is roughly close to 2.3 lakh crores. So while the turnover is 68,000 crore, the order book, and this will get translated into revenues. And today you don't value a manufacturing or a capex company based on their past performance. You always value a company or assess its potential based on the order book, and the order book remains healthy. So as I said earlier, government recently approved acquisition of new items, Those new items will get converted into order book, and order book will get converted into revenues. So today's company's balance sheet don't capture this revenue potential. And these companies, because they were a blend of technology, their even ROEs are on a double-digit teens, so close to 20. So you can say 18, 17, 19. So they are high ROE companies. So fundamental of these companies are slightly better than what you generally get in the market in terms of ROEs. And these companies also carry very high cash balance on their balance sheet. Today, cumulative cash balance is roughly 42,000 crores. And these are not the companies which are running short on cash. They have a milestone payment moment. As I said, that they invest time, resource, energy in cultivating a product, developing a product. Once the product is developed and they become part of the ecosystem of the defense establishment, then the order continues to keep coming. And therefore, they have a very strong milestone payment system. So once they sign the contract, they get some cash, and as the work in progress continues, more cash continues to follow. So they are never short of cash. Their cash never gets stuck in the middle, as you would have seen in some infrastructure companies, and therefore their cash balance in general are on a higher side. As I said, that defense equipments have two sides to it. One, once you acquire, it's a capital expenditure. So it's a huge capital expenditure. Suppose you acquire Tejas aircraft, it's a huge expenditure, runs into few crores, hundreds of crores. But after you've acquired, for next 35 to 40 years, you have to maintain that aircraft. And therefore, after sales service requirement of such defense equipment is also on a high. And therefore, the business continues for next 35 to 40 years. And this is why we are saying that what we are seeing replacement of old aircrafts, MiG and Mirage and all with Tejas, because they all have run their life of 35, 40 years. Now Tejas is getting introduced into defense establishment or Air Force. And therefore, thereafter for next 35, 40 years, the maintenance part will continue. And therefore, the companies which are engaged into this will continue to have a cash flow coming from services of this aircraft. So this is a long-term process. Like we buy a car, we have to service the car every year. We have to service the aircraft also. We have to service ships also. We have to service guns also, and therefore maintenance remains for a longer period of time. So therefore, one is acquiring capital expenditure, and after that is you to maintain or manage those equipments. And as I was saying that a weak defense is never augurs well for a country. Weak defense equal to conflict zones, hardship for citizens, and strong defense is citizens' well-being. So you just, when you say strong defense, you think about US. And you just see weak defense, which are the country with weak defense or no defense system. And what is the state of those people? And therefore, weak defense never gives rise to peace and prosperity. So if you want peace and prosperity for our citizens, then we need to have a greater defense system, a stronger defense system, and therefore greater expenditure on the defense side. Abhishek Podar is going to be fund manager for this. Abhishek has been with us since 2019, and he's our defense analyst, in addition to capex and infrastructure analyst. Prior to HDFC, he was with Kotak Securities, where he was lead analyst for 3 years in running, and he was also awarded a lead analyst by Asia Money for 2018. He comes with a very wide experience of more than 17 years in research, and therefore we thought he was the best fit guy to run this fund because he has been analyzing this sector for a while now with us. As to risk, I actually covered somewhere in my presentation risk of concentration, 21 stocks right now. But as I said, the universe is expanding. As I said about valuation, the P multiples looks to be on a higher side. But the right way to look for this multiples is not P, but price to growth, because their earning visibility is better, fundamentals of the company is also better. The idea here is finally that you have only one buyer, or your large buyer is a defense establishment or Ministry of Defense. But my answer to this is this defense requirement is for sure. It's more structural in nature. If defense establishment does not buy from Indian companies, then from where they will buy? Either they will have to start looking again outside India, and that has its own ramification in terms of protecting our borders, in terms of our finances, and therefore, irrespective of the government, I think there is a merit in believing that we will continue to look inwards as far as defense equipments are concerned going forward on a structural basis. Why we should look for a fund, and to summarize, we are moving towards a multipolar world. And the defense has a strong linkage to economic growth. We are fifth largest to third largest economy, and therefore the percent of expenditure, percent of GDP expenditure, which we have seen stable for last so many years, more than 2-3 decades, what we have seen. And if that story continues, I think defense expenditure will continue to rise. In addition to additional catalysts in form of import substitution, export growth, and having more spending on R&D. And developing our own ecosystem to become defense readiness or conflict readiness, as I would say. I think these are some of the points that we should keep in mind while considering for this fund. And at the same time, financial condition of the companies engaged in defense, their cash book position, their earnings growth, and their order books, they all augur well for the defense companies from a medium to long term. So while we say that please do look at this fund, being a sector fund, not more than 5 to 10% of your portfolio, but do come with at least 3 to 5 year view. I would suggest more 5-year view, not even 3-year view. Believe in India story of Atmanirbharta and what we can achieve in terms of defense is what I rest my case, and I will close here and open to question. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashok Bhai. This is more than just being a new fund discussion. This was more of a patriotic feeling and getting to know our defense capability and the new initiatives which have which are being taken, or how we are getting prepared for the possible conflicts in the ever warming or ever heating up scenarios in the outer world. So thank you. Thanks for sharing very good pointers, good numbers, very good points to carry us when we talk to our partners and clients outside. Definitely a very helpful session. A couple of questions which are still unanswered, possibly because most of the questions which our audience asked are already answered by you. Like why this fund, what is opportunity, and what are the possible risk in the fund. While you kept mentioned the concentration risk, uh, but do you see any other kind of risk which is uh, possible in this fund? Because you mentioned 3 to 5 years or even 5 years as a period. So what are the possible risks which can be there for a investor who is probably coming in with a shorter investment or other? Or is it generally, equity market should be for 3 to 5 years? That's a philosophy with which you suggest a five.
I would suggest only market risk as a risk, not a risk from a business perspective. Commercially, there doesn't seem to be any challenge, in my opinion, because government policy is very clear. They have banned items which you cannot procure from outside India. You have to procure within India. So government, and already they've demonstrated in terms of higher approvals of items, higher order book position. So I'm just thinking what can actually go wrong. So why a government? And as I said, as I started with this, close your eyes and think about India's political map. हम क्या कर सकते, क्या लगता है कौन से फ्रंट पे हमको टेंशन कम लगता है? Just to give a perspective, why even talked about water bodies. You need to go back and see our challenges in 1971. Uh, and if you remember that Ghazi movie, because I saw that they were about to attack Vizag. So that Bay of Bengal, Arabian Sea, Indian Ocean, this is all open corridor. And you have threat from every, and our coastal belt is flourishing. We have so many refineries, steel plants, important cities. It's like this, it's easily accessible. You have to be there. Aircraft carriers आपके होने ही चाहिए. मतलब that is what I'm thinking. You have to just think what we cannot manufacture or where we will put a stop. यहाँ अमन और शांति है, वहां कुछ सोच सकता है, पर यहाँ अमन और शांति कहाँ दिख रहा है हमको? इधर दिख रहा है. मतलब in near future तो दिख नहीं रहा है. मतलब suddenly people will become a good people and you know that, for example, China has that uh, uh, expandist mindset. They want to expand their territorial coverages. In fact, they have been working on the seafront for a while, because every time China has to bring oil, commercial oil, merchant oil, they have to go through entire belt, starting from west coast of China till from somewhere in the Asian economies, then India, and then reach Middle East. So they also have those kind of challenges. They have been investing in China, Pakistan economic corridor. And we already know what are the challenges, troubles going there, trouble challenges going in Myanmar, trouble challenges going in terms of, we were just talking about that economic well-being, what happened in economic crisis terms in terms of Sri Lanka, and what happened to the citizens. So, and then what is this ramification? Any trouble within the borders of our neighbors also means trouble for us. So I don't think there is any reason, irrespective of the government, where the spending will reduce on defense. And that brings with us its own challenges. While a lot of things appears in theory, right? It's very difficult to believe that what can actually happen, which can actually theory can become in practice. So I think irrespective of the government, your spending has to continue. And we have seen for 25 years that our percentage spending has remained stable. And we have seen a couple of governments in between of different political background. So I think the requirement is coming, and only thing that we are becoming technologically more competent. What we need to understand that we have started testing success in terms of our own production. So I will give you two examples. Vande Bharat. So when we were about to import train from Spain, somewhere we thought that we can develop this train internally, and we developed that train at 50% of the cost. And that Vande Bharat service is running today across the country, and more services are getting added almost every month. Similarly, in the mobile terms, that we were largest importer of mobile because of our requirement. Today we invited foreign people to set up shop in India, and today we have become exporter of mobile phones. So this is a work in progress. Nothing happens overnight, but somewhere we will start manufacturing more and more into India, become more technologically competent, and eventually start looking at exporting to other countries because we have a huge cost advantage.
Yeah, thanks Ashok bhai for that. There's one question which has actually been asked by multiple IFDs, that the total scope or total universe for, as you also mentioned, is around for this fund is 21 stocks only. Correct me if I'm wrong in that number. So if the scope is only 24, 21 stocks, and even if go for say 5% allocation, then the risk is very high, because the company whichever are there out of that majorly are PSU companies where the market cap is on a higher side, and private companies are on a smaller market cap as such. So is it like, concentration risk theoretically understanding and actually looking at it looks very dicey. And I'm adding one more risk factor, which somebody has added now, is in case of change in the government, then don't you think that can also be one of the risks for this fund? So these are two risks: concentration as well as change in the leadership at countries.
But that I highlighted that look at our government. We were spending $10 billion. Today we are spending $80 billion in the last 25 years. So you had a Khichdi government also. You had a Congress government also. And I think, by the way, we never had a majority government. We always had a supported governments, in the sense 2-3 parties coming together. Coalition government. And despite that, the expenditures have increased only, no? So what is the reason? The question that the challenges are there for real, and wherever we have slowed down, it has actually costed us. Otherwise, what was the reason to import Rafale fighters? Because of the technological innovations, that if you want to fight F-16, then we require those kind of aircraft. So we have to have a mixed match of every requirement. So I don't think it has anything to do with the government. It has to do with the national security. And which government would like to take a chance with national security is before you. And that's what we need to understand. Therefore, I said, just close your eyes and take a look at political map of India. And you think that, no, and that's for, as I said, okay, today there are 21 companies. We are supposed to invest only 80% of our corpus in defense companies. 20% we can invest outside. That doesn't mean that we are looking to invest in other sectors. But there are so many companies where defense turnover right now is 5%. But the way and speed with which their orders are getting executed, they sooner or later will cross 10%. So we have to catch those opportunities also in infancy. So as I said, that we want to be true to label. Right now, the opportunities may be 21, 22, but the universe is expanding fast. As I said, that one more company is already filed for listing. It will be available, and more opportunities will keep coming. So we need to be aware about these opportunities and what will happen. And this is a structural growth story. It has just started. That privatization was announced 2 years before in the budget. So it is not that something which was there. Now, so many items we have to manufacture, procure locally. Our defense requirement, internal, external, both are growing. And we want to be in export market also. So which government will say, no, you don't export? If your country is getting revenue by exporting, why they will not encourage? Yeah. So while, as I like to say, a lot of things are theoretical, we have to think in terms of business, in terms of practicality, that if I can be competitive in defense market, why not? Yeah. Nice, Ashok bhai. I think, friends, I'm sure you have also
equally enjoyed Ashok Bhai's talk once again, as always. And the anecdotes and the data pointers and theoretical pointers which he has given for this theme which HDFC Mutual Fund has come out with, HDFC Defense Fund, is an interesting opportunity to discuss with our clients and investors, because some part of the portfolio we always say should be in the aggressive categories like theme or sectors, which should bring in the alpha, or like one statement which I make always, we should construct our client's portfolio and play money and grow money. So grow money is something where which should be consistently growing, while play money is something which is adding the alpha or certain kicker in the portfolio. So these themes like the fund which we have in hand can definitely be part of the play money portfolio, and it should add kicker or additional returns on the overall portfolio side. Plus, the most important one, as I said at the beginning, and also my goosebumps are saying it once again after talk by Mr. Ashok Kanawala, defense as a sector, as a theme, is something which is very close to all of us, close to our heart, and patriotic feeling comes in. So we should be looking at it as this fund from multiple fronts, investment opportunity as well as patriotic part. Let's see how much we can contribute to the overall growth of our industry as well as the economy. So let's look at this fund, which is opened already on May 19th, and it's going to NFO is going to close on June 2nd. So this NFO period is available for all of us. Let's reach out to all investors and see how much they feel as an opportunity, and convey the right message to them. With this, once again, Ashok Bhai, thank you. Thanks so much for sharing your thoughts and time.
Yeah, thanks, Anjana. Thanks everybody for being on the call, and we look forward to your support. Thank you very much.
Definitely, definitely. We'll work together. Thank you. Thanks so much. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for your time and patience. Thank you for coming in again. We conclude our call for now. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody.